Let me see. The coup of the 25th of November 1975, usually referred to as the 25th de Novembro in Portugal, was a failed military coup d'etat against the post-Carnation Revolution governing bodies of Portugal. This attempt was carried out by Portuguese far leftist activists who hoped to hijack the Portuguese transition to democracy in favor of a communist dictatorship. Because after the for the right dictatorship, one must have for the left dictatorship. That is how Spice of Life works. Vasco Gonçalves, the previous prime minister from July 1974 to September 1975, later described the coup as a provocation organized by the state's provisional government, saying that the government had ordered the paratroopers to bomb the occupied Radio Rezanica. These orders, carried out by low-level paratroopers, has subsequently led the paratroopers to invade air bases in an attempt to force the resignation of the Air Force Chief of Staff. Goncalves blames the Group of Nine and related elements for such incidents, which is kind of like the Maoist China Gang of 5 or 4, I think. But anyway, now let's get to the events. Let's see why this happened, right? So the political, economic, and social crisis in post-Carnation Revolutionary Portugal was a period known as the PREC, and the PREC stands for the Processo Revolucionário em Curso, or the ongoing revolutionary process, Processo Revolucionário em Curso. Now, and the makeup of the Constituent Assembly, the first democratically elected organ after the fall of the previous regime, which was the Estado Novo, or the New State, gave rise to a series of confrontations during what became known as the Hot Summer of 1975. This marked the start of the counter-revolutionary movement. This caused a division in the Armed Forces Movement, or the MFA, or the Movimento das Forças Armadas, which had been responsible for the overthrowing of the Estado Novo regime because they had to fight the colonial war. It was the coup of the 25th of November 1975, followed by a counter-coup led by Ramiro Enas, a pro-democracy moderate, and supported by moderate socialist Mario Soares, that re-established the democratic process in Portugal, and that is why we don't have a, well, communist Portugal. But what happened on the 25th of November? Let's try to remember. So on this day, dissident paratroopers tried to seize the military complexes around the country in a coup attempt that was easily defeated by commandos loyal to the government and the Republic of Portugal. With the country engulfed in political chaos, some hundreds of military personnel sympathetic to the extreme left seized the Monsanto Air Base, the Air Force School, and 5 other air bases in the capital in and around the south of Portugal. It said in, but around makes it rhythmically more aesthetically pleasing. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. That was a pretty beefy one, not too serious, but it was an interesting event of how Portugal, a newly democratic nation after a far-right regime, had come to power. The only time we've seen this is technically Czechoslovakia, but then again, it was occupied by the Nazi government, so it wasn't like a grassroots far-right movement or far-right dictatorship. But I mean, like, if you want to get technical, I think Hungary did that as well. Hungary did that, but then again, they were occupied by Soviets, so the democratic process was more or less kind of sham. But yeah, all the Eastern Bloc countries had that kind of thing going for them. Bulgaria, not. It was more. Well, Bulgaria was complex to say the least, but mostly monarchist, really. But with that being said, though, we're not gonna really debate that for right now. But we'll get back to those countries of the Axis powers that had a complex legacy in World War II. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. And like I said, the only real one that I could see parallels to is the 1948 takeover of Czechoslovakia by the communists. So that's like the only closest thing I could really historically get to right now. There are probably others, and you can leave those in the comments. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And until next time, this has been another exciting episode of What Will I Do, How Will I Do It, and Where Will I Do It. But with that being said, hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. And Allegalo. No, wait. What is it now? Like, Allegalo. Wait, hold on. Portuguese. It's Portuguese. algo. No, I'm stumbling over my words. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. All right. Apriende algo Wait. Aprienda algo cosilla, or learn something. Ciao. I thought it was apriende algo, but is alguma. Apriende alguma cosilla. Learn something, of course. And until next time, yeah, this has been Portugal, 1974 and 5.